few days ago, I saw one of Grian's videos on my YouTube recommended page. On the thumbnail there was a nice building that I could probably build myself, and I decided to make a video out of it. But considering I'm me, something went wrong. Hello, my name's Lalu, and today I'm finally going to build something nice. I started with watching the whole video, of course, and while I was doing it, I realized that the building I saw on the thumbnail was actually a desert temple. And suddenly, all the cogs in my brain started to turn even faster than before. The whole thing required a bit more thinking than I thought it would. I got a piece of paper, my favorite pencil, and started to sketch out the whole thing. I went to that one website with block palettes, chose the one I liked, created a new world, and started building. And then I stopped, because the blocks didn't really match and I didn't like how it looked. So I chose a new block palette and started all over again on a brand new world. I made a foundation from white terracotta, and while I was making it, I remembered that the replay mod exists, and that I don't know how to use it. Then I started to do the towers, and generally the front of the house. I used mainly spruce wood and, for whatever reason, jungle wood. I'm not a big fan of jungle wood, but it actually fits in with the terracotta I used, both planks and strip logs. I tried to give the front wall some depth by making the walls one block deeper than the foundation and making the windows from glass panes. Then I moved on to the towers. At first, I tried to make an uneven pattern using green terracotta, jungle wood and white terracotta, but it was ugly and I decided on making a more simple pattern with a large window in the middle. Next thing I did was a part of the roof above the door. I made it a bit lower than Grian's, which confused me a couple of times while I was doing other things, but in the end I believe it looks fine. Then I went back to the towers. It's my thing, you know, going back and forth between things. I hope it won't get too confusing. The whole roof was made from spruce stairs and spruce slabs. And while we're talking about slabs, I often tend to call them half slabs. But don't mind me, English isn't my first language. And as I was finishing the towers, I remembered that the sides and the back of Grian's building were basically a desert temple, so I had to improvise on that. I started working on the side, but soon I realized that the walls would really use some depth, so I fixed that and changed the strip jungle logs to jungle planks on the way. I added some stripped spruce logs on the way, made space for the windows and started to do the roof. And that's where my notes turned out to be wrong. I planned on doing a 5 blocks high roof, but it would connect weirdly with the towers if I did it like that, so the roof had to be shorter. I built a bit of the backside of the roof and then I went back to the front to finish that part. And I messed up a bit here too. I placed the stairs in the wrong place and then wondered why isn't it looking like it's supposed to. And then I went back to the towers, which needed some care. For unknown reasons, I also built the inner wall of the tower, which at the end I would have to tear down anyway. And then I went back to the roof. It wasn't as bad as it was at the beginning, since I was also streaming it to my beloved viewers at the time. And trust me, talking to someone while doing boring things is much better than doing it alone. I mean, unless I didn't finish the roof and went inside the house and started to do floor because I got distracted. I also attempted to turn the flat part of the roof into a small farm, but I couldn't figure out the entrance from the towers to the roof, so I changed it later. I made small 1-block windows which looked fine from the outside, but on the inside they turned out to be right next to the wall. I got rid of the glass panes from the outer windows and replaced them with white terracotta, and then place a jungle trapdoor. It's the peak of my skills, honestly. And then I had a block of terracotta on the inside, but it was easy to cover up with a pillar from stripped spruce wood. I decided to make those pillars in 4, let's call them corners, but then my mistake of making the towers inside the house had to be fixed. Making the whole tower house connecting part wasn't easy, which led me to finishing walls and then the roof. Man, I hate doing roofs. Then I moved on to the floor. The design I came up with was pretty neat, if I say so myself. We had white terracotta in kind of like snowflake shape. Truly on brand, considering my skin is based off Minecraft snow golem. The gaps between corners and the middle are filled with jungle planks. Now the room was almost completely dark, so I had to come up with an idea how to light up this place without using torches and without hanging things from the ceiling. Redstone lamps saved my life. As you can see, I'm doing the back of the house, which is a little wider than the sides, because on the sides we also have towers and it took me a bit to figure it all out. I added spruce door and started to decorate the outside while I was there. I decided to use azalea leaves as well as jungle trapdoors, lanterns and additional stairs here and there. The exterior of the house looked very lovely. I added redstone lamps to the pillars and then I realized that the ceiling can't be that low. Fly high roof farm, it was never meant to be. Also, the roof isn't completely flat. I once again didn't want to use torches or anything to light it up, so I spawn-proofed it with moss carpet. Then I corrected the inside a little bit. I made those little arcs that connected nicely with the pillars and started decorating. I made 2 couches beside the door and added trapdoors next to the windows. Then I moved on to the first tower. It's supposed to be a kitchen. We have a workbench, smokers, and the theme color is cyan. It's a disaster, I know. I also made a small reading corner, which is here only to look nice, and right next to it there's a small storage made out of a few barrels. After I placed the barrels, I changed how the reading corner looked. I added armchairs and a flower pot. I really like to use paintings, but I can almost never fit them in. I gave up on them after a while and decided to fill the middle part of the house, which looked pretty lonely. A great place for an enchanting table indeed. And the fireplace! This whole part looks so cozy to me. It's really lovely. In the second tower, there's a blacksmith place. Blast furnaces, an anvil, awesome looking ceiling and some iron trinkets. I started to run around even more now that the house was almost finished. I placed a bell, a jukebox, lanterns, an armor stand and glow lichen and it was all done. Big thanks to Grian, whose video inspired me to make my own, to my Twitch chat, especially Paperbacks, who always helps me with building on stream, and to you for watching this video. I'll see you at some point, bye bye!